Hello, everybody. We're live. It is Sunday night. It feels like it's been forever since I've been here, and I'm feeling a little nervous, to be honest. What do I do? What do I do? So tonight we are going to talk to all of you out there you're either new or maybe you're restarting. And I know some of you have, been with me for a long time and you tune in every week. And I hope some of this will be good for you as well. We're going to talk about getting started on an animal-based ketogenic diet, which covers low carb, keto, carnivore, the whole spectrum. So a little bit of something for everybody. Hello, everybody who has joined. I want to mention that I have a couple of moderators here tonight, Bonnie and Melissa, who is known as Copper's Kitchen. So if you see that, it's Melissa. They'll be here to help with any links or questions, that I might not be aware of, that they can answer in the chat. So thank you to them for being here to help out tonight. We also have a giveaway. We have a jar of Carnivore crisps. This is beef tallow, grass-fed, and it will be coming your way. The lucky winner tonight, which we will draw at the end of the program at about 5 minutes to the hour. So the word you want to type into the comments is tallow. Just have to type it in and you are automatically entered into the draw. There's also, for those of you that don't win, there will be a link in the YouTube description from where you can get this with a discount if you are interested in that. I have a couple of announcements to make before we get started. This Tuesday, I am going to be live on the Lioness Lifestyle channel with some hosts there. Cristie from Meeting Wellness will be there, and Nourishment Redacted. There's a third one, and I feel I should have written it down. I am so sorry. But there's 3 hosts, I believe, that will be talking to me that night. So that's Tuesday night. And I have the link below in the video notes as well on YouTube. And then a week from tonight, we are going to do a live stream that is all about staying on a budget. Now, we called it budget carnivore, but actually it's going to apply to keto. It's basically, how do you save money on meat? And we have lots of ideas. So Cristie and I did a lot of brainstorming. We went out with shopping lists, all that. So that's next week. That will be a lot of fun. So, and also the video of the week, I have linked that below. It's by Dr. Barry Groves. It's an old video. It's about 8 years old or 9 years old, but boy, is it ever applicable. It's called What Are Humans Supposed to Eat? And I gave that a listen this morning, and I was really impressed with the information. So that link is below as well. So let's I just want to do a couple of shout outs before we get started here. So I want to thank Chris1810 and Jan Gordon for becoming new members today. Or just in the last few hours. Thank you very much. And Carmen says, Anita's lives have become a part of my Sunday night bedtime ritual. I saw that in the comments, and that was really touching, Carmen. Thank you so much. I said to Bonnie before you had even posted that comment, Carmen, she's here every week and she's always early, and I really appreciate that. You show up every week and come and take part in this. So thank you. Who else have we got here that I'm going to give a quick shout out to? There's a lot of people. Yvonne, Pula, Cheryl, Anne-Marie, Cindy. Wow. Okay. There's probably too many to mention now that I'm starting to mention it. Cristie from Eating Wellness. That's who I'm going to be with next week on this channel. The Carnivore Collective is here. Jennifer, Susie Q, Howdy Partner, Pamela, there's just so many. Seasonings to Seasons. Hello, I remember you from the previous one. And Witchy Jules. I love some of these names, let me tell you. Lisa and Patty. Hi, Patty from Saskatoon. I bet your winter has arrived. Ours is arriving next week, apparently. Okay, so let me see. Exchange student, Beverly friend, No Insanity, Haley, Cristie. Oh, so many people. Ginger. Okay, I better stop. Otherwise, I won't get to I won't get to our questions and our topic, which is how to get started. So first of all, I want to point out that we do have some free handouts at the end. Well, I mean, you can just go anytime in the YouTube description. They are downloadable. I have a keto grocery list that is downloadable. I have a carnivore shopping list and this document on getting started on an animal-based ketogenic diet. And what is an animal-based ketogenic diet? Well, it encompasses it all, low carb, keto, ketovore, carnivore. All of that is considered animal-based ketogenic. And so there isn't one that is better than another. So I just want to clear that up. Human beings, from everything I've read and seen, all the books I've read, and I've read so many, I feel that human beings are designed to eat animals, specifically herbivores, but depending on the particular human being, many human beings can tolerate a wide range of edible foods out there, such as plants and fruits and things like that. And some of us less so than others. Like I have so many food sensitivities, so I've kind of settled into carnivore. And those people who have autoimmune issues, those sorts of things, generally settle into carnivore. And then there's others on the other side of the spectrum that can pretty much eat anything. It doesn't seem to affect them. They thrive. So, I'm not going to say that one is better than another. It really is dependent on your particular situation, what kind of health issues you may or may not have, food sensitivities, autoimmune, all those things play a part, your insulin, everything plays a part in this whole equation. And where one person can thrive eating only meat, another person just, needs more than that, or they don't feel well. So all of them, if it's working for you, it's right. That's all I can, that I can say. But I'm going to just quickly go over, some of the things for people who are wondering. A low carb diet is where a lot of people start. They come into this lifestyle and they just start. Maybe their doctor has said, you've got to cut the carbs, and they haven't really given much instruction on that. Just cut the carbs. And a low carb diet is generally considered to be 50 to 100 grams of carbs a day. And for some people, that is way too many carbs. For other people, that is not enough carbs. And that's basically how I got started. I knew about low carb, and I hadn't heard of keto. I hadn't heard of anything else. And so when I was, I forgot to say, when I was, over 320 pounds, that's me there. So I started low carb when I was in that state, 300 and some odd pounds. And so, that worked for a while, and until, I got my feet wet by doing low carb and basically just cutting the carbs. I didn't know macros. I didn't know anything like that. I just knew carbs were out. And then I started to hear about keto, and so I started to learn about keto, and then, you know, some people who are low carb will progress to keto. So the one thing about low carb is you may or may not ever be in ketosis, and it may not ever matter. Some people who can tolerate a vast variety of foods, that might be enough of a change for them to lose weight. And I certainly lost weight doing low carb, not all my weight, but I started to lose weight doing low carb. Then I switched over to keto, and generally with the keto diet, you are, it's called the keto diet because ketosis is the goal for many people. And you can measure your ketosis with strips, breath, or blood, you know, drawing some blood and putting it on one of those little ketone strips. Ketosis is a function of lowering your carbs enough that you're going to start burning fat for fuel rather than glucose, and that is kind of where people want to go. They want to start to burn the fat. And generally, most people out there can achieve some kind of ketosis with 20 grams or less of net carbs, more or less. I mean, some people are able to have more. Some people that can even do it with net carbs as opposed to total carbs. And some people need 10 or less carbs. You know, again, your mileage may vary. And then within keto itself, there's clean keto, lazy keto, dirty keto, you know, all these things. I think what I want to say is not to get hung up on these labels of, you know, because the reality is, and in everyday life, there's going to be overlap. I remember when I was keto and I was trying to be in ketosis and I was counting carbs and all that stuff, there would be overlap. If I was on vacation, it would be dirty keto. You know, sometimes if I was really busy, if there was a lot going on in my life, I would have called it lazy keto. I mean, there's overlap. You can flow so easily from one to the other, and it's, you know, don't get hung up on the labels. And the same with carnivore. And by the way, a lot of this information is going to be in the handout that you can download. Carnivore diet is generally the most animal based. It's like some people it's 100% animal based. And ketosis is not normally a goal of carnivore. Some carnivores may get into ketosis, but not necessarily. And, you know, I think what I see a lot is people who are switching from keto to carnivore, thinking that they need to be in ketosis. And I wouldn't worry about it. It's not really the goal. And I was just telling the moderators before we started that there was this great quote. If you don't have this book, Why We Get Sick by Ben Bikman, it's really a good book. I mean, it should be in everybody's library. It should be in everybody's library who follows the standard American diet, because my goodness, it's really eye-opening. But he said a line in here that jumped out at me. For the sake of improving insulin resistance. Now, Dr. Bikman feels that insulin resistance is the basis of pretty much all disease in the body. For the sake of improving insulin resistance and all that comes with it, we don't seek high ketones as much as we seek low insulin. And he encourages people to view things through the lens of what will this do to my insulin, and not so much as what will this do to my weight or my ketones or things like that. So I would say that, you know, if you're coming into carnivore from the standard American diet, you probably will achieve some level of ketosis just by accident, like just by default, because you're going to be removing so many carbs that this will just happen naturally. So also, I'll mention within carnivore, there's a lot of categories and labels as well. And there's relaxed carnivore, hyper carnivore, strict carnivore, lion diet, which is only ruminants and salt. Again, it can be a spectrum. Many carnivores add seasonings, some condiments. I use mustard. I use some seasonings, but not all because of my food sensitivities. Some use dairy, some don't. I get a lot of comments on my videos that say, am I allowed to have blah, blah, blah? Well, you're a grown up. If you're on YouTube, you're probably a grown up. And, you decide what you can have on whatever program you're following. There are rules in some people's minds, but in my mind, this is a spectrum, and you need to just go where you feel the most healthy, and you're getting results. You're lowering your insulin levels if you even go out and get those measured. A lot of doctors won't measure your fasting insulin, but there's ways to do it. So if you're feeling good and getting the results you want, and you don't have autoimmune issues, I'm not going to say, no, you're not allowed to have mustard. I have mustard. I mean, it can help a hamburger a lot. So just don't get hung up on all these labels. I mean, don't worry about it. Do your best. Carnivore is also a really good way to do an elimination diet. And I wanted to address this because I had this question by email before the live stream. Someone was wondering how to use carnivore as an elimination diet. And I did that for 30 days. I went on ruminants only. And for me, that was beef and lamb, salt and water. That's all I had for 30 days. And then I began to introduce things. And that's how I discovered that I had some real problems. Something as simple as black pepper keeps me up all night with terrible heartburn. And so I've started finding, by doing that elimination, and an elimination is basically just narrowing it right down, because our bodies can handle the meat, a ruminant. Like, we're designed to eat those herbivores, which is, cows and sheep and whatnot. So our body can, handle that really well, no problems. And then when you're done your elimination, say for 30 days, add things back one at a time, and you're going to quickly figure out what it is that is bothering you, or you can just stay there. Some people feel so good that they just stay there and don't bother handing, getting anything back in. So that's up to you. So, I mean, our bodies are designed to handle the animal meat, the fat, and the organs. And so that's why it is such a good elimination diet. Now, even if you're not trying to eliminate for health reasons, like you don't suspect you're allergic to something or have issues with something, say you're just doing this because you want to have, a 30-day challenge, or you want to see if it'll budge the needle with maybe your weight loss or some other issue of some kind. I would say 30 days is really the bare minimum, and even that is not really enough. I would say try to give it 90 days if you can. 30 days, great. But here's why I say more than 30 days. Because the first 30 days, you absolutely can feel like crap. And sometimes even by the end of the 30 days, you're still feeling like crap because of all the detoxing, all the changes, that kind of thing. And it would be a real shame to, at the end, after going through all that, at the end, to just say, I feel like crap. I don't feel any better. I don't need this. I'm going to go back to the drive-through and, pick up something. That's why I say try to see if you can hang on for 60 days, and even better for 90 days, because the magic starts to happen, and it doesn't happen within 30 days for everybody. For some people, it does. Like some people are like on day 2, they go, oh, wait a minute. Like I remember talking to Carrie at Homestead How when I was on his channel, and he's like, yeah, the second day I stopped snoring. I had a bad snoring problem. And so some people, like within that first week, they have these major changes and they see it right away. Other people feel so horrible that those first 30 days that they might give up, and it's all going to depend on what your underlying issues are. So please try to commit to it for longer. And then the other thing is that you might feel better. I hear a lot of people that say, well, I haven't lost weight, but this is gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Like all these things were healed. And the thing about carnivore is that sometimes like your body doesn't always want to do everything at once. And that's a lot to ask. Okay, can you heal my diabetes? Can you heal my joint issues? Can you heal this, that? And I want to lose some weight all at the same time. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way. Sometimes those things, those underlying issues have to be healed before your body will start releasing some weight. And I've had some long stalls that, are perfect examples of that. And I'm so glad that I stuck with it, because all of a sudden after, being stalled for, 30, 60 days or something, whoosh, 5 pounds will come off just overnight almost. And those things add up. At this point I've lost about 145 pounds. And, I'm within sight of my goal for the first time ever in my life. And so I feel like it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And, it is hard to keep going when you have a long stall. But now that I've learned about all the things, and this is a great book for that, to learn about all the things that go on in your body that you can't see and probably have never heard about, and why sometimes the weight is still hanging on. This book explains it so well. And I do have a link for 3 books below. If you are on the low carb keto end, this is an excellent book. A lot of people in my members group just love this book. End Your Carb Confusion with Dr. Westman and Amy Berger, who's amazing as well. That's a good one. And this one just came out by Judy Cho, The Complete Carnivore Diet for Beginners. I love this book. I have her first book, but it's a little more like a textbook compared to this one, which is really geared to beginners. So I highly recommend those books, and I put the titles and all that stuff below in the video notes. So how do we get started? Well, like I said, make that commitment. If you are going to the low carb keto end, you're going to need a tracker, because that one is all about ketosis and macros and things. And that, there's free trackers like Chronometer and Carb Manager. This book is going to be helpful for those people who are going to go that end. If you're opting for the carnivore side, there's no need to track it first. I would just say, if you're new, just eat the meat that you like, that makes you feel satisfied. Don't even think about tweaking until your first commitment period is up. Regardless of where you are on this spectrum, focus on single ingredient foods. Keep it simple. Don't buy things in packages. Like if you see a package on the store shelf and it says keto, only 3 net carbs, run from it. In those first 90 days or whatever, if you want the best results, don't go there. Don't go there. I mean, I know many do, and I know I've done it too. Like those keto whatevers that are like chips or like candies or whatever. Save it for a treat when you've proven to yourself how this is working, and yeah, don't go there in those first little while. Stick to the single ingredient foods. So, and that's why I did, link guys up down below to some shopping lists there. What to drink, water, mineral water, unsweetened tea or coffee. Add in some heavy cream if you need to. Bone broth is a good one. Electrolytes. Use a lot of salt. You're going to lose sodium when you stop eating packaged foods. You're going to lose a lot of sodium. You're going to feel crappy. That's part of what makes you feel crappy at first. Make sure you're getting enough salt, Himalayan salt, Redmond salt, electrolytes. Just take care. Just take care of yourself. So that is kind of my, getting started in a nutshell. And I know that there are questions waiting, and I'm going to pop over to answer them. Let me look over here for our questions. Okay. Cindy, can you address the idea of using a sous vide with budget cuts? Is it worth buying? I bought one and I was kicking myself for not buying one sooner. So basically, for those that don't know, a sous vide is it's French for cooking under vacuum, I believe. And it's the one that I got is a wand. I got the most simple one, and it was the cheapest one. It was made by Instant Pot. It's their circulator wand. It sits in a pot, and it keeps the water at a certain temperature. I don't bother using it for something like a ribeye, although you can. What I use it for is for something that is normally tough. Something that would be a cheaper cut, a cheaper roast, that, especially if I want to have it medium rare, like you can make a roast in a crock pot all day. It'll be very tender, but it'll be well done. And I use it for budget cuts. And so I think at the time I paid $79 for that about 3 or 4 years ago. It is like paid for itself many times over in the budget cuts that I've purchased. And so for me, it has been worth it. The other thing that I make with it, I do not like white meat chicken, like chicken breasts, skinless, boneless. Like, who wants to eat that? But if I have some and I cook it in the sous vide, it's beautiful. I love it. And same with it. Something like a pork loin comes out really nice. These are all like the pork loin, and there's a few other cuts like that. The round roast, bottom round, inside round. Those all come out amazing in the sous vide, and they are cheaper cuts of meat. So for me, it was worth it. Thanks for that question, Cindy. And we'll probably talk about that more next week in the budget section. What about having whey protein powder? So some people cannot tolerate the whey protein powder. And so if you can, like if you have it and you're doing well with it, that's great. I don't have anything against it, but so many people seem to have a problem with it because of the whey. And so for those people, look at the beef isolate protein powders such as Equip. Equip is a good one to, it's very clean. And I'm sure there's others out there as well. And they come in unflavored, for the people who don't want anything added. They also come in some flavors, vanilla, chocolate, that sort of thing. If you can tolerate the whey, then go for it. Okay. What is the number limit to the daily carb intake? How many carbs kick you out of ketosis? So that is going to vary person to person. And that is going to depend on your underlying issues. Are you type 2 diabetes? Do you have, different issues? Generally speaking, you should be able to stay in ketosis, 20 net carbs or less. That is the general guideline. Most people can stay in ketosis there. Some people can add some carbs and it won't kick them out. Other people have to take away carbs because even that isn't enough. So really, start with 20 as your baseline and see what happens if you're measuring. Like you must, if you are, if you have some way of measuring, either a ketone meter or the little sticks that you pee on, however you're measuring, that will tell you how you're doing. And then, you can take it from there, adjust up or down. Okay, next question. Were you eating the beef, lamb, water, and salt daily, breakfast and beyond when you were hungry? Yes. So basically for 30 days, I ate those items and I ate 2 to 3 meals a day. Sometimes I'm only hungry for 2 meals a day because that's very satiating. I chose the fattier cuts for that reason and because that's what was advised to me. And yeah, I ate that breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I'm not going to say it was easy, especially the first couple of weeks, but I did it, and I'm glad I did it because I figured a lot of things out during that time, and I felt really good during that time as well. Okay. John Stanley, thanks to you, I went from 245 pounds to 150 pounds and feel so much better at 76 years old. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Who says that it's ever too late to start? It is never too late to start. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want everybody to just yay to John here. Thanks for sharing. Let's see. Sarah. Thanks for all your videos. I'm wondering if priming was a thing when you worked with Kevin and Alice. I'm curious about different approaches and feel good, high protein, high fat. I did not prime. I've heard of priming. I think I heard about it. Somebody explained it to me one time. I tried it for a few hours and I was like, no. I mean, I'm a eat to hunger person. And it just didn't seem something that I wanted to do. But, with all of these things, your mileage may vary. And some people say that, they did it. There are other coaches out there. There are coaches out there who do recommend priming and have their clients go through priming. It was never mentioned to me by Alice and Kevin. I don't think they do it as a rule. Okay. Retired mom, stalled here, but I think it's because I had a few treats over the holidays. That can do it. I'm coming up on 5 months carnivore, but a glass of wine and a few treats was my holiday celebration. Okay, so time to just move on. You can't change the past, and I think a lot of people are, they probably would have done the same thing. And, you just move on. You just start from now. If you haven't already, start with your next meal. And these things, you might have cravings for a little while because when you have that re-enters the whole craving cycle for the sugars and carbs and things, but it'll take a few days and you'll be back on track in no time, really. That's the best advice to give. Sophia, I'm a Hashimoto carnivore and would like to buy some suet. Can it be eaten raw or is this not recommended? Well, I don't know the connection between Hashimoto's and eating raw suet because I don't have Hashimoto's and I'm not really all that familiar with it. I know that Dr. Barry's wife, Nisha, she has Hashimoto's, and so she might know the answer. I personally cannot imagine myself. I buy suet, I use suet, I don't eat it raw. I render it for tallow. But I'm sure there are people who possibly eat that raw. And I don't know how to answer that question for you. So I'm hoping that maybe somebody in the audience who's listening could tag you, and if they know the answer to that, that would be wonderful. Shannon, having extensive surgery in a few weeks, won't be able to walk for 2 months. We'll be sticking to animal foods and prioritizing protein for healing. That is the best thing you can do. Since I've been prioritizing protein, everything feels better. Everything feels better in me. I had a really bad injury in July. I injured my knee on top of a previous injury, on top of bone-on-bone arthritis in my left knee. I do have to have it replaced, so I'm going to be in the same boat where I have that surgery. However, the high protein that I focused on since that time just really helped me to recover quickly and from that, because I was scared at when I fell, because it was so hard on that knee. I was sure that I was going to be, waylaid for a while. And yeah, the protein really helps. I recovered so fast. Julie, glucose reading before bed can't get below 100 on carnivore diet. Dinner were at least 3 hours before bed. Please advice. Well, there's not enough information here for me to know anything. But I mean, my best advice is to research, study these things. Try increasing your omega-3s, try moving your eating window earlier in the day. I mean, there's so many things that can move the needle on your glucose. And so I don't, I don't have enough information to know what's your health history? What kind of exercise. I'm not a doctor. But all those things play a part, so many things. The other book I will recommend, if I can grab it, is this one here, Keto Continuum, Dr. Boz. This is an excellent book for working through these types of issues. And she's a big measurer of ketones and glucose every day and has lots of explanations in here. So, I'll add this book link down below after this is over, because it's an excellent book for exactly what you're asking about. Let's see. Question, if you've floating stools, does that mean you're eating too much fat in your diet? Not necessarily. If you're eating too much fat in your diet, you'll see maybe fat apparently in the water in the toilet. Floating stools by themselves, I don't think that really means that at all. So yeah. Again, you guys, I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm not a doctor and I can't diagnose these things. Dr. Barry has an amazing video about stools, and he has pictures of every type of stool. So go look for that. Go look for that one. Sarah, I'm curious why people are less likely to buy quarter half cows and lambs and pork. To me, it's far less expensive per pound, but I'm a new farmer and relatively recent meat eater. Just wondering. I'm going to say there's going to be a couple of things, because this is something I'd love to do, and I actually have room, to do it. I have a freezer downstairs. And so, one of my things I'm going to do this spring is seek out local farmers, ranchers in the area. However, a lot of people, for one thing, they may not have that kind of room. Like if you're living in a condo and you've got a fridge with, top freezer, you don't have room for half a cow, or probably a quarter of a cow or a lamb. So that's one. The other thing is the proximity to like most people don't know where to do that. And, you know, that's something that I've struggled with, but I'm going to make it my business to find one. And the third thing is cash outlay. You know, yes, it's cheaper per pound. But if you have to lay out a few $100s in one swoop, so many people in North America right now, probably all over the world, but you know, with inflation and everything, are living paycheck to paycheck and can't do that. I mean, I have people, like I sometimes will put my Costco runs on a short or on a video or whatever, and I have people say to me, I can't afford to go to Costco and spend $200 to buy these things in bulk. You know, I have to buy my groceries weekly when I get paid, or bi-weekly or whatever. That is a problem. That is an issue for many people. And so, yeah. So I mean, if you have a farm where, you know, you are selling this sort of thing, you should be, you know, putting that news out there, and telling people that, because going into carnivore groups and telling them where your farm is, that would be good. Donna, I tried taking collagen peptides and got horrible gut distress, gas, and hives. Anyone else have anything like this happen? Really bummed, because I know they were helpful for hair and skin. If you eat the really fatty meats like brisket, beef tendons, I just filmed a collagen soup video, which will be out next week. Getting your collagen from meat sources is probably a really good way to do it. Now, when you say hives, that scares me a little. I'm wondering if perhaps that might be a histamine issue, but I don't really know. I don't know. Yeah, so if there's anyone who has had this happen from taking collagen peptides, please tag Donna Peters and let her know, you know, what your experience was, and if you know something about why hives. I mean, gut distress and gas can happen with all kinds of different foods. Hives seems like a little next level to me. Maybe there's something in that particular brand, or like maybe you have definitely a sensitivity to something in that can of collagen peptides or that brand. That seems unfortunate. So, but in the meantime, get your collagen right from the source. That is really good to do. Jeannie, it's never too late to take charge of your health. No, it is not. Thank you, Jeannie. Just Jason Keto gifted 1 Ketogenic Woman membership. Wow, that's awesome. You'll have to explain to me how that works, because I didn't know that was something that someone could do, and I'm super impressed. Thank you so much. Ellen, Canada, do you have any experience with carnivore and high blood pressure? Did carnivore help, and how long does it take to reduce blood pressure on carnivore? So I had high blood pressure at one point way back when. I mean, I remember being at a client's place of business, and I got a spontaneous nosebleed. And now these people happen to be pharmacists. They were my clients. And the guy told me, he said, sit down and take your blood pressure. And it was super high. It was, I can't even remember what it was, but he seemed a little alarmed and I looked like I did in that picture that I showed you before. I was over 300 pounds at that point. And so it was no surprise that my blood pressure was that high. So now I hover, I'm in the normal range every time I've ever measured it, or it's been measured at the doctor's, or like I've never not been out of normal range. It can take, I don't know how long it took me, because I wasn't measuring my blood pressure for, like regularly. Some people, it's slow depending on how long they've had it and what other issues they are having and what medications they're on. And some people, it can happen within 30 days. But generally speaking, when you're on, an animal-based ketogenic diet and, eat like lowering your, it's more about what you're getting rid of than what you're adding in many cases. Generally speaking, most people, their blood pressure will normalize over time. And just some are going to take a little more than others. Mary, I'm not trying to be vain, but the crepey skin certainly causes me to appear older. Yes. And I've had that issue in the past too. But I feel like since I've really been focusing on the fatty meats and getting the collagen, think things like brisket and ribs, those things have so much collagen, all that connective tissue. Chicken feet. Now, we don't want to eat chicken too often because of the omega-6s, but add them in once in a while. Like make a soup with chicken feet, and that soup is going to be jello the next day in the fridge. Bone broth. Make bone broth, that sort of thing. Try to up your collagen. Monique, when you go carnivore for long periods, do you find you get sick on regular American diet? So like going back to regular American diet. Yeah, I think I would. In fact, there have been times when even a keto dessert or something, like I've, been like say on vacation or something, or I get a little loose because I'm traveling. I do find that things can make me sick. In fact, the other night we were at a restaurant and I ordered plain chicken wings. They looked plain enough to me. But when they tasted good, they were crispy. I ate them all. And I was taking Tums that night. I felt sick. I had acid reflux, and yet they were quite plain. There was no sauce. And I feel like maybe they were fried in some kind of seed oil. Sometimes I'm just not careful enough to ask those things. And, so yes, I think that if people, if they've been clean for a long time, and then they have, they're going out to eat or they're eating at a friend's and they decide to have something like that, yes, I think it can make you feel sick. That doesn't surprise me. So we have a lull in the questions here. So I want to remind everybody that in a few minutes, we're going to draw for the tallow. So let's actually go over there and see how many entries we have at the moment. So just hang on for a minute over to the giveaway tool here. Let's see. So we have 145 entries so far for the jar of tallow. So keep adding the word tallow if you're just joining us midstream here. Let's go and I'm just going to check the other comments here. For what is happening out there. We have time for a couple more questions. Give a couple more shout outs. Hi, Ketogenic Susan. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. Carney Barbie. Nice to see you. Deb Bartlett. Beth. Mary. Oh my goodness, so many people here. Some of you I know, and some of you I'm not sure if I've met you before. I hope that everybody is, I hope you guys all had a great Christmas and New Year's. Annette, the ferret for real. Okay, C. McMillan, nice to see you again as well. And Debbie, good to see you. There's a few Debbies, and some of them I know because So Lisa, good to see you here. Cindy, faithfully patient. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. Haley and Alan, Adam, Sandy, Suyam, Karen. Okay. Somebody or Joe, I got so interested in listening, I almost forgot to add the code word. So yes, I'm glad that you did. Good luck. I'm just going to go back over here because I saw a couple more questions come in. Pula says, when I have non-carnivore treats, I surprisingly find myself wanting to get back on track, feel better, and don't want to lose traction. Yeah, and there was somebody, I think it was in my Zoom meeting the other night, somebody was saying that what they have noticed over time is that the periods, I mean, a lot of people just, every once in a while, they'll have a bad day, they go off. Now, some people go off, whether it's keto, low carb, carnivore, they go off for weeks on end. So, this is the danger. Sometimes we say, okay, I'm just going to go, I'm going to enjoy that day. I'm going to enjoy that meal. I don't care what they give me. I'll go and I'll have that and I'll get, back on the very next day. Sometimes that doesn't work out. Sometimes the very next day becomes the very next month or 2 months. I've had that happen to myself. I've had, in early days when I was low carb and keto, there were times when I was gone for weeks. I took the detour and I was gone for weeks. But I think what happened over time is those periods became shorter. That was my experience. And that was the experience of a woman who shared in the Zoom meeting the other night, that she has noticed these periods between her little relapses getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I think, part of that is, we just, we know what it's like. You can't, once you've been, clean keto or carnivore, you can't unremember that. You remember how good you feel, and even if you fall into the carb ditch or whatever, that there is a way to get out and a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes it just takes you a little bit longer to get out than others, and if that period gets shorter and shorter as you go, that's pretty awesome. And maybe at some point it'll just never happen, and I don't know if that's realistic for everybody, that it never happens. But if you've healed enough, sometimes your body can tolerate a little divergence here and there. And you're, and Dr. Ben Bickman in the book explains why that happens and how that happens. And so that, that's why I love that book so much. So there are, I think it's great that you start to recognize, how good you feel eating this way, and it makes it so much easier to get back. Okay. Carmen, can you explain a bit more why chicken is not the greatest choice for carnivore? It's the omega-6s. I'm not saying don't eat chicken, but a lot of people do get concerned about the omega-6 levels in chicken. If you're eating that more than you're eating some of the other things. I eat a lot of fish. Like I eat a lot of sardines and salmon. Like they're almost on one of my plates almost daily. And so I have a really good omega-3 thing happening in my body. And I do that, for the benefit of my joints. But if you're eating chicken as the primary protein source, you may be getting just too much omega-6, and that isn't the best thing. So that's typically the reason. And so certainly if you love chicken and want to eat a lot of it, try to get a better quality chicken, like a pasture raised or something, so that you decrease that risk. Okay. Monique, I am new to you and I'm very excited to research and get started. Do you have startup information on a web or your YouTube channel? Well, I mean, I have this handout tonight is very basic. I would start with some of these books that are also linked below, and definitely YouTube is a great resource, although it can be overwhelming. I do have a website, ketogenicwoman.com, where I have some guides on there and some basic information for beginners. Too much information can get overwhelming. Try to keep it simple and ask questions. Come on these live streams, ask questions because that's why I like to do them, because it's like a direct link. You can, I've been at this for 10. I haven't been at YouTube for 10 years, but I've been doing low carb to keto to carnivore for 10 years, and so I've been through the ups and downs. Tanya, maybe more encouragement wanted than a question. Moved to Bali a few months ago. Lucky you, how nice. Fatty beef too exorbitant in cost to buy here, including ground beef and sardines too. Eating eggs and pork. Well, yeah, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. We are sometimes we have to go with our circumstances and just do the best we can. If you have any relatives that can send you things, like a case of sardines would be amazing, and you get a lot of mileage out of that. That would be good. And yeah, I don't know anything about what it's like to live in Bali. It just sounds so exotic to me. So, are there farmers there? Maybe there are farmers that grow their own, pigs and cows and lambs. I don't know, but that might be something to look into. But you can't, if there isn't, like, if that's what's available to you and you can't do anything about that, there's no point in stressing about it, because you're just doing the best you can. And what you're doing, if you're eating mostly eggs and pork, and you're not eating all of the standard American diet crap and processed foods, you're miles ahead. You're miles ahead. So, don't get down on yourself for that. Okay, Doodle Girl 62. Any experience with lymphedema or lipedema? So I personally don't, but I have spoken to many who do, so I'm just getting a signal that we're running out of time, but that's okay. I'm going to answer these last couple of questions. I don't think we're going to go over. So if you go to my channel and watch an interview with Anna Maria, it's on my, like, if you go to my channel, click on, no, she wasn't live. Just put her name in my search bar, Anna Maria. She struggles or had lipedema, and being on carnivore has done wonders for her. And she talks about that in the interview. It is my interview with Anna Maria. She's an amazing woman. And so, yeah, please go listen to that. And some people do, and also Cindy DeMonch, I interviewed her as well. And she had, I don't know if she had lymphedema or lipedema, because they are different. I can't remember which one she had. But she has basically overcome that as well, or greatly improved it. I mean, and there's also things, like those rebounding trampolines are supposed to help, wear compression socks. I mean, I'm sure you've heard all that before, but carnivore will definitely help. Barb, how do you know you're in ketosis without a monitor? You may not necessarily know. Some people don't care. Most carnivores don't care if they're in ketosis or not. However, Dr. Bickman says that if you're getting your insulin tested and it's going down, then you are making ketones. There's an inverse relationship. He explains it so well, so much better than me. But yeah, so if your insulin is high, you probably are low in ketones. So that is one way to tell indirectly. But if it's important to you, like if you are wanting to track macros and knowing if they are working, then yeah, you can get those sticks, although they are famously unreliable. Breath meter is better, and so is the little strips that you put a drop of blood on. So yeah. Other than that, I don't know how. Some people say they can tell they're in ketosis. I don't know. Sarah, do you do coaching? I do not do coaching. And at this moment in time, I don't have any plans for it. But we do a lot of talking. I mean, I do have a private YouTube group where we meet every Friday night on Zoom, and people ask me questions. We actually coach each other almost. I'm in Kelly Hogan's coaching. She has a weekly coaching group, which I highly recommend. I love it. That's kind of she's one of my mentors. And so I do that because I learn so much from her each and every time I go. And I have used Alice and Kevin's one-on-one coaching to help me tweak my macros and go from stalling to losing again. So I'm going to just look at one more thing here, and then we're going to go to the drop. Carmen, I just wondered, I heard, but I only eat chicken every now and then. I mostly eat beef. Good. Okay. And lamb chops, those are good. So yeah, I hope I answered your question about that, but you're okay if you only do it every now and then. You're fine. So we're going to go to the draw because we are at the hour. I said I wasn't going to go over, but we're a minute over. We won't be long. Don't like to go too long. 192 people entered. That's amazing. Let's see who is going to win this. To Suzanne. I'm going to write this down. So to Suzanne, if you could please send me your address so that I can send you your beef tallow. It is grass-fed beef tallow. So send it to me at ketogenicwoman@gmail.com. Then as soon as I get it, I've got it all bubble wrapped, ready to mail. It will come to you. So yes, so we are at 1 minute and 2 seconds. So don't forget to download those free handouts if any of them are of interest to you, and check out the notes for the other information that we talked about, the books, everything. Come back next week so that we can talk about more. It's all going to be about budget. So thank you so much for being here, spending your Sunday night with me. I appreciate it so much. Love you all. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.